Yo, this is Kaedee,
And this is David.
and we are the K&D Exchange, where we exchange music, and as a result, we exchange ideas, bridging the gap between old and new, with all original music produced by. Enjoy. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to the K&D Exchange. I am your host, Kaedee, joined by my co-host, David. David, I'm going to say what's new with you. We had a whole off-air discussion just before. So I kind of know where you're at.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, for the audience, David's good.
I am. And also, I'm even better because I know I'm right.
Yeah, exactly.
My partner was wrong. My wife was wrong.
It's always a good day.
And I was right.
It's
right.
rare. It's rare. So we have to note and celebrate these moments.
Super rare.
Yeah. So it is what it is. Anyways, that's good to know.
Thanks, man.
I'm really glad for your win. Because I know how it feels.
Look, they're few and far between. I am having a celebratory orange juice.
Oh, nice. Okay.
You know what I mean? As a parent, I really know how to, celebrate these things.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
You've
life.
got to commemorate like that, man.
Anyway, let's get on with the episode.
Let's get on with it. All right. So we are on exchange number 38.
Can you believe it?
That's crazy, right?
Man.
38. We put out bare content.
Right? We've done a lot. Anyway, now's not the time for, you know what I mean? Like patting.
Backpatting.
Yeah, backpatting. Oh, I'd love to go backpacking though.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Well,
leave these utes and just go. Anyway, no, absent father, not doing that.
No, yeah. Well, you'll be absent just for a little bit of time.
Yeah, like the rest of my life. I suppose in the grand
Right,
scheme, grand scheme of the cosmos, it's a little bit of time.
It's only a small bit of time, yeah. But yeah, so for returning listeners, thank you very much for supporting us and continuing to follow our journey. For new listeners, basic premise of the show: we exchange albums together to each other, which is why it's in the name, and we alternate each week. Although now it's every 2 weeks. So David will give me an album that he's familiar with, I've never heard before, and vice versa. And it's a way of two different perspectives coming together. So this week, we also have bonus segments as well on the alternate weeks. We've now dipped into kind of movie discussions as well. We kicked that off last week at this time of recording. Actually, at the time of release of this episode as well, last week, we kicked it off with David's MCU catch-up, which started off with Spider-Man Homecoming. So that's, if you want to jump into that, that was fun because it's kind of a different take on the kind of episodes we've been doing. And we're both kind of into movies as well as music, and we there's some overlap there in our passion for that. And then we also do solo reviews as well every other Thursday, which we alternate on to. So yeah, this week, back to the exchange segment of our show. David, what album did you give me to listen to?
I gave you the Lesson GK's album, and it's called Another World. And Kaedee. Yeah. Oh yeah, released 2021.
I can't
remember when.
Yeah. Last year, 24th of June, it says.
There you go. Yeah, I knew it was around my birthday time. Yeah, man, lovely album. But what did you think of it, man?
I thought this was fucking amazing. Straight off I was going to try and ease into that, but I couldn't think of anything to say.
Oh, keep your powder dry, like at least. Yeah. But no, he's just straight in with the hot take. I like it.
Fucking amazing. Boogie's an amazing song. And that's that. So we have been the Kaedee Exchange.
Yeah, man.
David,
oh,
do your thing, man.
Yeah, for real.
I'm joking. Nah, yeah. 24th of June, when Sky Zoo dropped on your birthday, right?
Yeah, that was June 11th.
June 11th. Oh, so I was near then. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Good month for music.
Yeah. When? How did you hear about this guy? I'd never heard of this guy before.
So they, my friend of the show, Chris, he basically said, "Oh, you need to check out this album.
Chris.
Listen, you need to big this guy up as much as possible." Couldn't believe it when I first listened to it. He goes, before I listened to it, he said, "Got something for you, man. It's right up your street." I was like, "Yeah, all right, cool." Because normally when he says that, like it usually is right up my street. So I listened to it and didn't realize that I'd pretty much stopped working and just sort of closed my eyes and just listened to the whole album in its entirety. It felt like one continuous mood and one continuous song. And then I was like, picking out bits that I really like. But yeah, I mean, it's just, for me, I've never heard anything like it in my life. In fact, there's a band called Chon, Chon, and they're just an instrumental 4-piece. And there are elements of Chon in the Lesson GK, in the kind of spacey, kind of ethereal, cosmic-y kind of aesthetic. And they're the closest sort of musicians to the Lesson GK, basically. So
yeah, sure. I have similar sentiment to you, basically, from when I was listening to this. I listened to this first time because I think you mentioned this to me a bit before actually officially giving me the exchange.
Yeah.
But then I think I was listening to it while I was playing like my Xbox or something. So I had it on in the background. I thought it sounded really good. It was one of those albums I heard and I thought, yeah, this I'm looking forward to going and listening to it again, but properly. A lot of time passed, and then in last month, I've listened to it about 2 or 3 times, and I had a similar kind of experience to you. So I went for a walk, and just put it on. I found my headphones that I'd lost, my in-ear ones.
Nice.
And they're like a really nice. They have a real nice sound and clarity to them. So it's actually made me listen to a lot more music again, just because I can do it so much more easily instead of putting my overhead headphones on all the time, and they're a bit worn out. And they leak the sound now because the padding is a bit kind of scratchy and falling away, which I never noticed before. And I realized on the train when I was using them and my partner was sitting next to me, she said she could really hear my music, or we were sitting somewhere. She said, "That's so loud." And it wasn't even that loud. It's just because it was leaking through. So I realized it's been happening every time I was on the train and putting these headphones on, is that people could hear the music coming out. And I was like, oh man. So it kind of put me off doing that. Whereas these in-ear ones, obviously that's not the issue. I can just walk around the house so easily, put them in.
Yeah.
And this was like one of the perfect albums to listen to with this kind of clarity and this kind of that personal headphone focus. I've started doing this thing where when I eat in the evening, I'll wait about 15 minutes or so and then I'll go for a walk. And it's like a 20-minute walk or just around my area. There's like a little loop that I can do. And this album is about 20 minutes, 23 minutes, 26 minutes.
Yeah, it's relatively short. I'll call it up. I thought it was like around the 30-minute mark, but it might, if you're doing your walk in 20 odd minutes.
Well, the Apple Music thing mine says 23 minutes because I don't have the instrumental song right at the end.
That's
I took that off. That's an extra 3 minutes. But yeah, and I was just walking around at night listening to this, like, okay, yeah, this is an album David gave me to listen to. This perfect opportunity to listen to it again. I've heard it in the background. It sounded good on the speaker. But listening to it personally, like very up close, right in your ears, in like high fidelity sound,
Yeah.
production on this really warrants that.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's so good. There's no other real way. Like there's so much body to everything.
Yeah.
And the Lesson GK, is this a group
Yeah.
with
Well, I think they are. They got
a vocalist and everything?
yeah, so they use so the vocalist is just a guy that they use.
Yeah.
He's not part of the band. The Lesson GK, I think, is 4 dudes.
Oh,
5 dudes. You got the rapper, 2 keyboards, drummer, and bassist.
okay.
And like
All
they
right.
so um basically the reason why they managed to get Primo on this, or DJ Premier for those who don't know, when Primo tours, he usually takes a band to like fatten out the sound, and then he used basically the bass player from some of those tours formed the Lesson GK, and they started out as a live jam session, and then they sort of like grew, and they got the rapper in. I'm not sure who, I can't remember his name. He always reminds me of Black Thought though. He sounds like Black Thought.
He has a very similar tone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like how his voice is a bit distorted. Not
Yeah.
distorted, but it's like compressed and distorted. And it fits so nicely into the sonic kind of soundscape across this whole thing. Because I had the same thing as you. Is Shameless Butterfly is really obviously a nice intro, but then Boogie comes in with Primo and he's scratching and everything.
Oh, it's just fantastic. That
just
song
sounds so good. The drums are so nice. The bass is so big bodied.
Yeah.
Sits right in the right place. And then there's the little video game sounds that go from like left to right.
Yeah.
Because when we got to the final song, which was the instrumental version of that, I was like, I've heard this before. Is this just a continuing motif throughout this album or something? Because I was like you, I couldn't, after a while, I think, there's Harry Mack on Another World. So there's, another singer on there. And then I think
that's
there's
his
some
name.
songs where there's just, what do you call it? There's just instrumental songs.
Yep.
And so after a while, you kind of get caught up in that where you don't know which one's changed from which song to the next. And there's a different kind of vibes, and I didn't even take any notes because every time this is the first time I haven't taken any notes for an album I've listened to, because
amazing.
Every time I've listened to it, I've been on a walk, or I've been on a drive, and just like you, just got kind of washed away on the ride. So just caught up in the waves of it, and each time I'm like mentally noting like, that's really cool, I really like this part, I need to mention this part. So like, watch thy step, it's got the more like sped up drum pattern and all that sort of stuff, which I feel like something that you'd be really into based on your kind of drum and bass. I've lost the word, when you're inkling for like that kind of music.
Yeah, man.
So that kind of maybe reminded me of that, and just everything here is so, it's spacey, but so big bodied at the same time. When it really comes in, when the drums come in, they're big, they're fat. It has that live music sound. Now that you've said that they're a live band and not just at first I did think, is this a producer, a rapper / producer? Because he sounds like one of those guys who's not trying to, he's not on every song vocally.
Yeah.
And he's on the first couple at least. And then when you suddenly you hear him not on like the third or fourth song or whichever one it is, you're like, okay, so this guy is not trying to make a whole album where he's like showcasing who he is as a personality.
Correct. Yeah.
Maybe he's a producer / MC, kind of how Jay Dilla was. And, he's just creating the soundscape. It's not like, oh, listen to my lyrics and listen to how well I rap. I mean, listen to the lyrics, but listen to how well I rap. It's more about the overall sound of it. That's the vibe I got from this project, because it's always moving, it's always changing. But then listening to it again properly, more intimately, I was like, the drum work sounds a bit too fluid to be made like on an MPC, like, to be
correct. Yeah,
be padded out. in a DJ Premiere style thing. I think I saw the DJ Premiere feature and I was like, okay, this is interesting. I wonder what this is going to be.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there have been songs which say featuring DJ Premiere, and I'm like, you can sometimes misread that as, or featuring a producer, and you can misread that as them also producing the song.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Sometimes it's just as if they're a DJ, they're scratching on it.
Yeah.
And this is one of the better times where I've seen featuring DJ Premier and not been disappointed by what he offers to it, because the scratching works in so nicely into the song, and the music is just so good, and everything about the song is so good. There was an Eminem song that came out at the end of 2020 called Book of Rhymes.
Yeah.
And on the track list, it said featuring DJ Premier. And I remember being hyped. I was like, man, finally an Eminem DJ Premier collaboration. What's it going to be? And I think I misread it or made the assumption that I'd rather he just wasn't featured on it. Like he didn't have the feature credit, because you hear the song and straight away, you know, it's not a DJ Premier beat. It's a way more modern kind of trap beat. And it sounds, it's cool. Eminem rips it. He does his thing over it, whatever. There's all these beat switches and stuff. And then at the end, he says, Primo, take us out. Primo does his scratching. Sounds cool. But I'm like, surely you knew what people were going to expect by saying featuring DJ Premier.
Because, when I hear featuring somebody like a producer, I'm thinking, oh, you're overseeing the song. Yeah, like, this is your beat. Like you're overseeing it. Like, and even if it's on somebody's album, they're a guest on this song. Like Eminem is a guest on a Primo beat. That is how it is. Like Prime, for example. That is something that I would envisage whenever somebody says featuring DJ Premier.
You're right, actually. Yeah,
Prime is what I think of.
Because Prime felt more like a collaborative thing, not just Primo supplies the beats and you rap. It was more of it's tailored to that project, because Primo never made any other beats that sounded like Prime. Those beats they sound like Primo beats, but not the typical Primo beats.
You are right. But
they
also
very different.
I think Royce would have had a bit more say, considering he's now loving.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, he's loving the production side of life.
Yeah, exactly, which is weird. It's not something I expected him to do.
For the record, dear listeners, those weird sounds that you can hear is Kaedee bumping into his mic because he's gesticulating with his hands.
I'm getting too excited.
He's so excited. Like, no, I'm
just massive hands. I can see it in the video. I'm just like, wow.
They're about 4 times the size of your head.
I've got a big head. So it doesn't help having like skinny wrists and then big hand, because then it makes the hand look even bigger.
Baby wrists on like a baseball player's hands. Yeah,
like one of those big baseball gloves.
That's
what it feels like. Yeah, but a little baby's fucking holding one. But so I agree with you. Like Prime feels like Royce had more input and they were collaborative on that. Whereas if it was like Primo's never done like a static selector type thing where he makes an album with beats and then gets artists on there and curates kind of the songs. Which I thought, I've always wondered if he would ever do something like that. But I think he was just so prolific in doing his own thing that he does actual. Well, so does Static Selector as well, but I guess they're 2 different artists. But I've always thought that would be kind of cool if Primo had a 12-song album where he just every song had an MC or a bunch of MCs featuring on it, and they kind of in a DJ Khaled-esque kind of curation way where you get this person and you get this person on the hook, like, okay, this would fit on this, but he provides the beat first and it's for his album, so he's the artist and it's featuring all of them. That would be really cool.
So Apollo Brown. So basically Apollo Brown curate, makes the concept of the album and just gets in a bunch of heavy hitters. Hasn't made a bad album yet.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I don't think so either.
Cannot believe this guy. And it's all,
Yeah,
as we've said many a time before, if you like hip hop and if you like violins, Apollo Brown's your guy. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. If you like strings, then
he's
Apollo Brown is
phenomenal,
your guy. Yeah,
you know. But yeah, like it just didn't like coming back to this album. The fact that
yeah,
Primo, the thing is, when it says featuring DJ Premier, it doesn't sound like he had too much influence on this. This felt like a real, like I'm just trying to echo what you said earlier on,
yeah, yeah.
and it sounds like a real collaborative and also a really good sort of union between a live band and DJ Premier,
Mm.
and also the fact that there's history there, so it kind of matters a little bit more,
Sure, yeah. Now that you added that context in it, it
Yeah,
really helps kind of solidify why that chemistry is there, and you can feel it, even though it's purely a music sonic chemistry, not a
for real,
vocal
yeah.
one. And it's a nice blend having a live band, but with DJ scratches.
It's
It's
so awesome.
yeah, you can see that as its own live form of music. You're just scratching, and already the song that you're scratching or the record that you're scratching is just your instrument, and you're making it kind of make its noise, have its own rhythm, and whatever else.
Mm.
You're just another instrument in there. But I guess it would be like back in the day if Beat It said, "Who's the guy who did the guitar solo on Beat It?"
Eddie Van Halen.
I knew it was that. I just didn't want to say it and get it wrong. I had this word, the name
Don't
Van
doubt
Halen.
yourself. You know,
I
you
know, I
know,
know,
you know, you know.
I know. But it'll be like back in the day. I don't think they usually did this kind of thing, like saying featuring this artist, or
True.
they might every now and then they might say with, or they'd say duet with, you know. Whereas now it's so much more common to just say featuring this
Hmm.
artist. I can imagine if Beat It came out in this with that format now, it will probably say featuring Eddie Van Halen.
True.
I can imagine it in that way where it's
True.
like he's a part of the song. It's not his song, but his own established artist, and he's contributing to this song. That's what it feels like with Premier. It's like he's his own established artist and producer, and DJ in this case.
Mm.
I've got him in to add his kind of part to our song. He's not part of our band,
Yeah.
but he's come into this song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like all these kind of the next couple songs, the MC is on it, but I think it's just the production and stuff. It just keeps moving like in different ways, and
Yeah.
they have these weird sounds. Like Serena has that like kind of like this kind of that video game sound I was talking about in Boogie. It's like it stretched it out and like
Yeah.
I can't describe. I can see it in my
Yeah.
head. I just can't describe.
I know what you
I
mean.
see
I
it.
know what you mean.
It looks a bit like the front cover actually. That kind of neon looking sign. Those sounds. They sound bright.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's, I think, utilizing two keyboards, like one traditionally and the other with the mad effects.
Sure.
They've
Yeah.
got some absolutely crazy, it's video gamey, cosmic-y, weird, but really lovely music. I can't believe that as a concept, like how did that come out of that bunch of people?
Yeah.
And yeah, like you, I didn't take any notes for this episode because
Yeah.
this isn't an album or EP that is one where you go track by track. It's a whole
No, you
body of
don't.
work, and as a
Yeah.
body of work, it's one of the best things. It's one of the best things that came out last year. I would argue it's one of the most surprising albums I've ever listened to. It was just,
Yeah.
I've had, goodness me, I've had 7 months of listening to it, and it just gets better. And
Sure.
it's just,
Yeah.
the thing is, it's not. It is steeped in hip hop, but then there are other musical elements,
I
that
agree.
kind
Yeah.
of really, really lend itself to your imagination. It's very difficult to explain it to somebody who hasn't listened to it. You have
Yeah.
to tell them, look, if you're
Yeah.
into something, it doesn't matter what kind of music you're into. just listen to this and get lost in it. Give it
Yeah.
2 goes. And it's short. It's 23 minutes. Just go and do it,
Listen to it in the daytime and
Oh,
listen to it
really?
in the nighttime.
Yeah. I think
For me, it's the nighttime,
it's the
but
night.
just
Yeah.
give it a try for each. If you're because I'm jumping off, I'm bouncing on from your 2 tries comment,
Yeah.
and I just thought, I'm thinking about songs like Distance or whatever, which kind of have those nice pianos and stuff in it, but then it gets a bit crazy at certain times,
Yes, it does. Yeah.
thinking, it could fit on like a nice summertime drive. So could Boogie potentially, but it's got that nice kind of Robert Glasper jazzy kind of feel.
Great shout. Yeah. Yeah. You can
So
they are so skilled as musicians as well. The drummer, they got a live version of a song called "The Weekend," and it's live, and it is every bit as good as a recorded version. Like, it's unbelievable. And they got the singer, Mr. Mac. He smashes it, right? I would
sure.
urge you to listen to it. There's a drum solo you can kind of skip it if alternate timings and weird drum patterns aren't your thing, and then you can just listen to the bulk of the song. It's about 7 minutes. Not one note is missed by anybody, and it's a feat of perfection. It's one of, I wish it was on this album because it is so loud and vivacious, and it's just, I would recommend that you check that out. And also, when you see him do it in the video, it's just being recorded live, right? Unreal. And the chemistry that they have with each other, the drummer he's unreal. I didn't realize how it took me about 3 goes to really hone down on what he's doing.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is ghost notes. But anyway, you have to listen to it.
Notes, yeah.
But it's also it solidified my love for this band. I thought that they are truly exceptional, and I can't believe just where my mind goes. I feel like I'm drifting in space, just watching galaxies like collide with each other. Like, it's got that kind of,
but peacefully, right?
Yeah, like almost like, well, it's a hugely destructive event that I'm watching. However, it is part of the natural life of the cosmos,
it's quite serene. It's quite
yeah.
It's like watching when you watch like waves hit against the side of a cliff or something. It's technically it's a destructive practice. It's breaking down the land and whatever else. But there's something quite peaceful and serene about watching that happen, watching it just continuously cycle through, and the wave just keeps coming, and then another one builds here and hits the bottom, and then another one, and it's just it never disrupts, just continuously flows,
constant rhythm. But not only that, though, it's the sound as well. We are hardwired to love the sea, I think, and love the sound. Sorry, hardwired to love the sound of breaking waves. There's nothing quite like it, right? And I do actually, I like that analogy, because it brings me to my personal favorite on this album is Constellation. Something about that which, as soon as I heard it, I had to earmark that track and be like, that is the one. Like, heart, that's going in my favorites straight away. And it's just,
that is a beautiful song. Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's very. It has some of the bright synthy sounds.
Yeah,
but it's got that underwater wet sound that I
that's
talked
correct
about with Robert Glasper. Like it's not like underwater, like it's a bad quality rip, like MP3 rip or anything like that. It's like
back in the days of LimeWire.
Yeah, nothing like that. It's more that when the drums are being played, you can imagine kind of little sprays of water splashing off of each hit.
Yeah.
More like that.
Yeah.
It's more of just, it just happens so naturally as the drummer's doing his thing. There's little sprays coming out following his movements.
And it's all like the album cover, like neon sprays, like on this sort of
for
black
this one
canvas.
in particular.
Yeah.
but this one in particular.
Yeah.
It's like you'd probably see an advert where they do those kind of things where they have like a water falling down someone and they're just in this like completely black or white background and they're doing something like playing the drums or they're
Yeah.
doing something and there's just this slow motion spray based on their movement or something. It's meant to advertise something, or it's meant to just be. It has this nice refreshing look.
Yeah.
I imagine that when it comes to this kind of music, there's something about like the hi-hats and the cymbals which have this kind of nice water texture, not watery, but I don't
it's
know.
Like it's rain like sometimes. The way,
yeah. It's like they're not fully the cymbal is not fully physical, not fully solid. It's like 20% liquid. So when you hit it, little sprays of water come off of it, and that's what gives it that sound, that softer sound, but still 80% of it is still solid. So there's still
percussion. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's not 80% water where it sounds like it's like it's just there's nothing to it.
It's like being slapped in the face with just like wet rubbish mud. Like
right, exactly. It falls apart. As opposed to actually having any solid foundation. Constellation. I mean, the name suits 100%.
Yeah.
The band will be playing this on the spaceship when you're just kind of moving away from Earth for a little, or hovering around the Earth.
Yeah. You kind of have to be in space to enjoy this album, I think.
Yeah. So if you're going to listen to it, you're going to be biased if you're listening to it on the planet. So, yeah. I mean, the closest thing you can get is listening to it at night. Maybe not living in the city where you can't see the stars.
Yeah, get out somewhere where you can. Do you know what? That'd be awesome. It's summertime. Like, I think it's summertime, nighttime.
Yep, that's summer evening
when it's
kind of thing.
10 o'clock and it's just getting dark.
That's 100% true.
And then you put this on, and then you're chilling with your peoples, and you're like, this is all right. This is cool.
Yes, exactly.
Like this is an album that I would have enjoyed back at uni. I would have been blazed to this album all the time. You won't go get high? Yeah, boy, let's stick this on. So yeah,
you know what? It's funny that those two things that you said really resonated, because every time I've listened to this, it's made me feel like it is kind of that time where you do get those kind of nice, bit warmer summer evenings. It's later in the night, but it's the sky's gone more an orange glow as opposed to just dark.
Yeah.
And but I know that it's not that. We're in February now, but it listening to this album kind of makes me feel like we're in that time already. Christmas and winter, all of that stuff is behind when I listen to this, and it makes me look forward to that part of the year, where it starts to warm up a bit more and it starts to get longer days and they stretch out a little bit more. There's not this sudden hard stop where you look out the window at 4 p.m. and it's like, oh.
Yeah. Or when you wake up in the morning and it's like, it's 6:30 or whatever. Oh, it's still dark. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark. Man, this winter just gone. I've never, honestly, I know it always gets dark in the UK. I've never known it to be as dark as it was. Maybe I was paying attention to it more, but it felt real dark.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. I mean, you're talking to someone like me who struggles to sleep before like 3 a.m. So then when I get up at like 11 or 10, and then it starts to get dark around 3:30.
Like,
I'm literally like, the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, have I even been awake today? Like, or have I even been to sleep? Like, or have I just continued my last night's session? That's what it feels like sometimes. But this brings me into that moment in time. I'm glad you said it. Yeah, it's evening, nighttime, but during the summertime, the temperature has to be a bit warmer. The temperature feels warmer when I listen to this.
Yeah, for real.
What's the other thing you said? Uni. You would have loved this at uni. I would have too. I would have loved this at uni as well. This would have been something I heard. It would have subverted my expectations.
Sure.
And also, I feel like for some reason it sounds like that period of time for me, like, which is weird because for you, your uni time would have been in a different set of years
Yeah, man.
compared to mine. Mine would have been like 20. Where I imagine listening to this would have been around 2014 to 2016.
Yeah.
The album
Yeah,
would
10
hit me.
years on you there, man. Like
Yeah,
I
so
would have been.
yours would
But
have
the
been
thing
before
is,
that.
I look at my music taste and I'm like, well, For Hero, for example,
Mm,
they're the sort of cousins of like
sure.
the Less Than GK. So For Hero,
Sure.
I would say Jamiroquai have elements of that space kind of thing. There was a duo called Kruder and Dorfmeister. They have like very, very ambient sounds like this. And also there's
Mm,
a lot of drum and bass as well.
yeah,
That
right.
harbors this kind of sort of spacious
Like atmospheric type of
yeah,
feel.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This ambient. So I was listening
Mm.
to a lot of stuff that doesn't sound like this, but it has the same sort of elements, and this
Yeah.
definitely is one of
I
those.
wonder I
Mm,
wonder if it's an age thing as well. So maybe it I don't know, it hits like, don't know how to explain this, but the fact that we went to uni at different years.
yeah.
So it's not the years that, like, the way, oh, this kind of music was popular at this time,
Mm,
or was just, we went to uni at different times, and yet for some reason it still reminds me of that time
yeah.
in my life. And yet for you, you're saying, yeah, I would have loved this back in my uni time. So maybe it's more to do with where you're at in that stage of your life when you are at that age.
Yeah.
Um, it could be that there's those times when you have that kind of more abundant freedom, especially during the summertime and when it does get late and summer evening ish.
Yeah.
And your friends are around, and you're in a unique environment such as university, where you have responsibilities, but not in the same way you do when you leave university,
True
and
that.
you have a bit more. You're in this like in between bubble in your life, and there's something about that. This is the kind of thing that would soundtrack that. So now when we listen to this, it's almost like reminiscent of the vibes that we would have
That's a
had
good point. Yeah.
back at those times, and the mentalities we would have had, the memories we would have shaped during those years. So it's not the years that are important, I don't think. So the fact that it was 2014 for me, 2015, and for you it was a different set of years.
Yeah.
It's probably more to do with us on a personal level and how we felt when we were those ages and going to university, doing those kind of things.
I mean,
That's potentially, we're kind of similar in different ways, in certain ways in general as well. So there's that overlap there as well. So because I find that so interesting that you said I would have loved this back
yeah.
at uni, because I kept thinking that too. I kept thinking I can imagine having found. I kept on forgetting this came out last year
Right.
until I would see it and until you would mention it. Part of me kept thinking this is like an old album from that time, and I
Mm,
just hadn't heard it, and that you had just recommended it to me. But it sounds like something I would have heard then, being sitting in the library at my uni, walking around on campus at uni,
yeah.
and it's kind of warmish. It's getting a bit late, but it's not dark. I'm about to meet up with some of my friends, after pretending to do some work in the library for like 2 hours or whatever,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And then, whatever, just in being in that environment in that time. Yeah, this would have soundtracked that. And it would have been a
Mm,
nice change of pace. That's why I said subverted expectations. It would have been a nice change of pace, because back then I used to love when I used to find music that was different from the mainstream stuff that I liked as well.
yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
used to like I used to really thrive on the diversity
Mm,
of the music I was taking in. So I loved the stuff that everyone else loved as well, for those moments when we were all together and vibing over the same music and whatever. And then finding something like this would have been like, yeah, I'm going to add this to my rotation as well, just because
yeah.
it would spice it up and it would give a different element. When To Pimp a Butterfly came out, it did just that. When he was doing those live shows on the talk shows on Fallon and Colbert and all those things, and he was doing those songs, which I think eventually ended up on Untitled Unmastered. This was from a mainstream guy who made songs like Swimming Pools and Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe and all these songs which were popular, at
Yeah.
uni as well at the time.
Yeah.
And then he's doing these like live band jazz songs which were written just for the shows and then weren't even intended to be recorded for public consumption. I was fiending for those songs
Yeah.
because it was a nice change of pace from the typical kind of Schoolboy Q and Rick Ross and ASAP Rocky and stuff. And I liked all that stuff. But then there was also these other things as well, which was just diversify the palette. There was something really beautiful about that, you know? This would have been a perfect addition to that diversified palette. And it's so interesting that this takes me back to that time when there's no real connection in terms of it was released last year. It's completely brand new and fresh. And yet somehow also even you're saying that you would have loved it back at uni as well. It's just such an interesting connection there.
I think that it's testament to the music itself. I think that maybe it's the music that is actually, and the intentions was to kind of bring you to a place of freedom and power, because it is so spacious and it is so what's the like all I can think of is cosmic, because it just it's just like it's the album cover. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's
like looking into the void of space, and I just wonder if the way that the music, you know, the album cover, the way that the music is arranged and composed, the way the album flows, I wonder if the fact that we're sort of saying about university and also the lack of responsibility and things like that, like maybe this album is kind of a, you know, why don't you get back to a time of purity and joy and freedom. And I think that that's pretty cool, considering, like, yeah, we got responsibilities now and stuff, but actually still pretty free if we allow ourselves to be. And I think
if we allow ourselves to be, I mean, with varying degrees of, you know, depending on even depending on the day, time in your life and stuff.
Exactly. I just think that it's testament to how good the music really is, and how it's sort of,
in principle, you're correct. Like, you know, we can allow ourselves back to that. Maybe that's why, I think you're right. Maybe that's why the music's hitting like that, because it has that feel. I mean, the album's called Another World.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's cosmic or whether it's another world that we used to live in. And it feels like this is different now. Because I get that a lot. When I think back to my uni times, I almost feel like that was a completely different world I was living in. And then I just got transported to this one. Because
I know what you mean,
they almost seem stark in contrast. Even go back before that to school. It's just different set of
rules, wasn't it?
Yeah, different set of rules, different lifestyle, the way you were thinking and doing things. It's just, you realize how many things have changed and stuff, and you just think you're in a different world. And I agree with you. I think this thing is like, musically, it's like a nice musical reminder. Because, you know, when people talk about being an adult and having responsibilities and all that sort of stuff, it just feels like it's a given. And I'm not saying that, we shouldn't have responsibilities or whatever. But sometimes I wonder if it's an unfortunate byproduct of the world that we just happen to live in. Especially when it comes to like work lifestyles and things like that. 9 to 5, 5 days a week. That's already, from the beginning, you're locked into and a lot of the time, stressful environments for that amount of time, for that period of your life, with only like 20, 25 days of holidays for most people. If that, which at the behest of someone else saying, yes, you can do that. No, you can't do that. You know, there's already that. The world is built in such a way that we unfortunately have to conform ourselves to those things in many kind of situations. And then on top of that, then trying to, you know, people always talk about, I don't have time for like seeing my friends, seeing my family and all this and all that. And, you know, and then it's only when it's too late, or when you go and actually see them, you're like, man, why haven't we started doing this earlier? You know, and you know,
there's always that. And I'll tell you what, like it's always at like a funeral or something where you're like, we need to hang out more. And why is that? It's because you are reminded, like on my gravestone, like when I eventually die, like it's not going to say, oh well, you know, David, what a nice, reliable, dependable human being he was at work. You know, never late, always did what he said. Like No, it's not.
Fuck
Actually,
that.
life isn't about that. Like, we actually live on a miracle rock,
Yep.
and the best we can do is pay bills. It's like, nah, man.
Nah,
Actually,
fuck,
no.
fuck
There's
off.
way more that we should actually be doing. But the thing
Yeah.
is, I think one of the more positive aspects of, say, the pandemic is that people
Yeah.
have sort of started to realize their worth and what
Yeah.
they're willing to put
100%.
up with and
Mm-hmm.
not. I mean, in the US, I mean, there was the Great Quit, where workers are treated like dogs out there, and
Yeah.
to be fair, the fact that they're called, America is called, the land of the free. Like, you're anything but free. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
you work 48-hour weeks and you get 2 weeks off a year. Like, yeah, you get more
Yeah.
public holidays. It's like,
But
that's
still,
not freedom.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
obviously it's
exactly.
better
Yeah.
than living in, I don't know, Saddam Hussein's
Yeah.
regime. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get that, but you're still not free. But anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
um,
No, 100%. And that's kind of what I was kind of thinking about is that
mm,
a lot of the time, especially in certain communities as well, and from certain generations, as you end up hearing it from your parents or older cousins and whatever else. I remember I used to hear it. I used to hear this all the time, which was, oh well, that's it's just the way it is. You get older and you've got to do this, and you don't have time for this, and you've got to let go of this, and you've got to not do this, and it always sounded very defeating and self-defeating. And
yeah,
you grow up and you'd understand why they did that or why they'd say that, but then at the same time, you also, on a deeper level, you then also realize that some of them had influences above them which were even stricter,
yeah,
laying this down on them. So if anything, they actually were a bit better than the ones that were before them, especially within like immigrant families,
sure,
where
yeah,
it was like, you we have to do this to survive, and then they
hmm,
pass that on, whether consciously or unconsciously, to the next generation, who happens to then be our mums and dads and
yeah,
aunties and uncles, whoever. And then we get a little drip feed of that too. But then we also have grow up in our own time, in our own generation, with our own ways of thinking, and the cultural norms move forward as well. So then we battle that too, where it's like our parents are telling this one thing, but on the other end, they're also saying that, do what you want to do and live out your dreams and don't be like me, and where I wish I did this in my youth and I wish I did that. My
mm,
parents wouldn't have ever allowed me to bring a partner back home, from uni. I would have had to hide that, whereas you can go do that kind of thing, small things like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And
hear that.
yeah, and then you realize that maybe when they were saying these things, like, oh well, that's just what happens when you become an adult. You just don't have time anymore. You just can't do, or you just, that's just not what adults do. That's not what you do when you get mature. That kind of thing.
Yeah,
My parents do it all the time, man. Anytime when me and my brothers get a bit stupid, get a bit silly, making jokes, laughing. When I really deep it, we'd be like laughing out loud about something that was just so fucking funny, and always
yeah,
making jokes with each other. And you'd think from the outside that we were being discouraged from that,
yeah, 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 yeah.
because the automatic response was always to be quiet and to
Yeah.
act our age, right? And I'm sure you have an understanding of this too. And it was always crazy to me, because sometimes I would go to like my English friends, like their houses and stuff, and part of me would think, right, when they just say something or they make noise or they laugh or they, God forbid, talk back to their parents, I'll sit there and be like, automatic response is, nah, how did you just do that? And then
Yeah, I know that.
realize everything's fine and be like, oh shit,
Like,
there's a
wait, you
whole
didn't get
different,
threatened with death?
yeah, yeah,
Like,
because
for real, you're a
uh,
lot.
there was no way I
Wow.
was saying shit to my mom, man. If I ever asked my mom, if I was ever upstairs in my room and called my mom and asked her, can you make me some noodles and bring them up to my room?
Oh no,
Bruv,
nah,
I would never even make the phone call to begin with.
no. I'm not. Listen, nah. My mum works hard. Nah, I'm.
Nah.
She can call me, and I'll make her some noodles. Like,
I will make her
no,
a cup of tea and all that
not a
stuff.
problem. No, no, no. That is
Yeah.
bullshit. Because like, if my sons are like, "Oh, Dad, can you fix us this?" Motherfuckers, you've got legs.
Yeah, go
Fucking,
do
you
it
got
yourself,
hands.
man.
I ain't do it. Listen, I ain't nobody's flipping like mug. Like you've got abilities. Like go and do it yourself. There's no way I couldn't, but yeah, oh man, you've tapped into it. Like my
Yeah.
neurons are firing. Sorry, I'm gonna calm down. Calm down.
No, but
I
it's
would
just different
never
culture.
disrespect that. But anyway,
It's just different like norms and different like generations and stuff like that, and uh it gets drilled into it got drilled into us for quite a while that because then sometimes I still struggle with this sometimes where I think, oh, should I still be doing this or should I still be into this? And sometimes the number thing comes up about my age and all that sort of stuff. And then, although more recently in the last few years, that gets dispelled very quickly in my own head because I'm more like, well, do I enjoy this thing that I'm doing right now? Yes. Okay. So who the fuck cares?
absolutely.
We're talking about the animated show, the Spider-Man one,
Yeah.
right? Um, I'll gladly sit here and watch that now. There's still a part of me that almost kind of thinks I don't want my partner to kind of catch me watching a Spider-Man cartoon, only because she knows how obsessed I am with Spider-Man in general. She might have think that I'm just like going off the deep end a little bit.
Yeah, but if you grew up with it as well, like if it's
I
like
grew up with it, that's different.
94 Spider-Man. I mean, listen, I flicked through all of the seasons on Netflix, not Netflix, Disney Plus, and
just as a little reminder,
just as a reminder, right?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Do you know? Do you want to know how sad this is? I remembered every single one of those episodes just from the description and the picture. I was like, oh yeah, yep. It's exactly how I remember it.
Yeah, and then I tell myself I'll skim through the episode. I end up just watching the whole thing.
I did not venture and do that, but I thought to myself, my goodness me, I've got a lot of stuff to watch. Can't wait to watch that all again.
Yeah, same. I want to.
You know what I mean?
I slightly want us to talk about it, just so that I can have like a more legitimate reason to watch it.
Do you know what? We'll do that, and then we'll do the X-Men as well, because the X-Men was unreal.
Yeah, let's do that, because I need to brush up on my memory for it, because I didn't watch that as much, and I always wanted to. And my cousin, it was always like an older cousin thing where they used to be like, "Oh, X-Men's on," and I used to be really into the Spider-Man one, and
yeah, and they meet X-Men as well
every now and then. Yeah, they do. And I think the X-Men cartoon came out before the Spider-Man one.
Yes, it did.
And there's an episode where you kind of see just Spider-Man's hand, and he comes in and he webs someone up, and it was like a little hint that he was in their universe or something like that.
Yeah.
This was happening back then, right?
Yeah, it was a great crossover. Like they rolled in. Yeah, they did a lot. Like even the Fantastic Four showed up in Spider-Man and stuff. So it was, and Captain America and Doctor Doom, and it was when towards the end. But you know, the thing is, what's great about having kids is that you're able, and like we've downloaded loads of Thundercats. I used to love it as a kid, absolutely love it. My son adores it. We sit there and like, chat about it. He loves it, and it's just really nice to have that kind of bond. But also, just to come back on your point of being an adult and letting certain things go and growing out of things and not having enough time. I do believe that as you get older, you can definitely have all the things that you want and do all the things that you want to do. It's just about compromise, because you realize the price of your time, and your time is absolutely precious, and it's just how you choose to spend it. Whereas you can, when you're a little older, you think that you're kind of time poor, right? So me, for example, 2 kids, full-time job, wife is on maternity leave at the moment, so it's pretty full on. So I'm a bit time poor, but that's just for now. When wifey goes back to work, or when it's holiday times for the oldest boy, I'll be able to have some more time in the evenings and do stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's just about choosing your battles and not being discouraged. But actually, there's something great, and something that this album always makes me feel is actually I'm doing an all right job. I'm okay, and I'm, like I ain't a young buck anymore, but I can do
but the
what
essence of you is still there,
it's
because
still the
that's a
same. Yeah.
really good point that you jumped on, because that's what it made me feel. If anything, it reminded me of who I was as well, because it took me back to that, just feeling love for
Yeah.
music and just getting that vibe again. And through times, especially like throughout the last year, a little bit at the beginning of this year, moments of just feeling a bit lost, a bit disconnected,
Sure.
from myself even.
Yeah.
uh and this first month of the year has just been very just full on, to the point that I actually thought recently I lost track of where, like, what date it was, and in
Mm.
terms of, I thought we were a bit further into the year,
Oh,
and
dude.
had to realize, fuck, we're still in January. It just felt like so many things had happened,
Sure.
you know, so many different things, whether it was like, you know, catching COVID or whatever, and then having to stay in Leicester all the way into the new year,
Yeah.
um, uh, having a car accident as well. Did I tell you about that? Mad. Okay, I thought I told you about that.
Nope.
Yeah. So 2 weeks into the new year, had a fucking car accident, which wasn't even our fault, which was the scariest part, because it was someone else's negligence, which ended up like fucking us up. So there was that we had to deal with, and then there was just other things kind of going on.
Like, you're sitting down. Are
Um,
you all right? Like, I know you're sitting down. Are you like Professor X or anything like that? Like, is
no.
everything all right? Like,
Yeah,
damn, I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know.
Yeah. I had a bit of whiplash after.
Oh my
Luckily, I
goodness.
was okay. We were in a big car as well, which took in most of the impact.
Optimus Prime. I like it.
Yeah, we hit someone on the side, as opposed to us being hit on the side. So we had the whole crumple zone at the front of the car, and luckily, the back of the car of theirs that we hit on the side, no one was sitting in it. Uh, so we missed the driver and passenger seat. But they ran a red light. We
Oh
could not slow down.
shoot.
Yeah, literally. And we just could not slow down in time, and we hit right into them, like airbags, all that sort of shit, And I've never been in a car accident before, so that that was very real. Like when you hear about car accidents and
Yeah.
stuff, and you're like, oh, that sounds bad, but then you're in one, and it's something you kind of wish you didn't actually experience in real life.
Yeah. The reality is
The
way worse
reality
than
is so
yeah.
much heavier,
Yeah.
bigger. There's all the other things, like the smell and the like of the smoke, from which I realized was from the airbag.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I realized how they work. It's actually an explosive mechanism that causes it to come out. So the sound, the bang, and the smell of smoke and all that, and the flash of light. There's me thinking it's because of the car hitting the other car,
Yeah.
and it's mainly the airbag, which makes it more dramatic. Um, and so, but you not wake up, but you see this flash of light. You know you're about to hit this car. You hit the car. You feel the impact. You feel the seatbelt tugging on you. Flash of light. You can smell smoke in the car, and your ears are ringing from the sound, like the noise, impact, and whatever. And all those things are just they make it so much more real, and they make you feel vulnerable,
Yeah.
because you're like, I'm just a human body in this like big box. It's just like going down at like 30, 40 miles per hour down the
Oh
road,
man. Yeah.
doing all the right things. Someone else's, like I said, negligence comes in, fucks up our night completely.
Bruh.
So, you know, so that plus Corona as well,
Yeah.
actually catching it, when it's always just something kind of here on the news, and you're
Yeah.
doing all the
It's
right
far
things.
away.
You're protecting yourself, and you're doing all this stuff that following the guidelines and all that sort of stuff, and doing what you think you need to do in order to be safe, and then you still get it, because loads of people got it, right? You said you got it as well, right?
Yeah. Me, the boys, the wife. Yeah. We all got
Exactly.
it.
These things can make you feel really vulnerable, and things like that can kind of take you out of your present moment. They can take you out of they can disconnect you from yourself sometimes,
Mm.
especially when it's quite full on. And it just speaks to it sounds so cliche, but to the power of kind of, like music and stuff like that. When you have Alzheimer's patients or patients with dementia, and they can't remember things, like even their own family members' names, and then they hear a song that they used to love back when they were like teenagers,
And they can
and then
recall it
suddenly
word for word.
they can recall all of it, and then
Yeah.
suddenly they start to recognize their family members and
Yeah.
everything. Is I don't know whether it's the boost of serotonin to their brain that's
Mm.
reviving everything again, or it's just something about the music that just has this powerful, deeper, embedded effect on your brain and the way it's wired. I feel it all the time when I hear something like this. It like kind of put me back into that spirit of all the things that I used to miss and felt like I don't know if I can get it again. And it just reminded me that I can get it again. It just will be different this time, but that's okay, because before university, when I went to university, there were certain times I was getting nostalgic about, college and school and what are all those people doing right now? And, that was like a different life back then. But now I
A
made new
different world.
experiences. It was a completely different world. It was another, and I stepped into another world and then stepped into another one after that. And effectively I stepped into another one after that. And each time have looked back on the world before, usually mostly looking at the positives of it. But I'm living in the new one right now. Each time I made new experiences and, had new memories to explore, which were just my present at that time. There's nothing to say that it's stopped now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
for real.
There's nothing to say it will stop now. And this album reminded me of that. The fact that it, and like you said, it made you feel like I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I can do that. So yeah, I mean, I don't usually say this, but thank you for giving me, for suggesting
man.
this. You know what I mean?
My absolute pleasure. I can't believe it.
This fully came at the right time for me.
Yeah. I'm so happy about that, man. Like it's just a special piece of work. It's one of the most complete bodies of work I've ever heard. I can't.
And it's so short. It's like what, 25 minutes?
So short.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, right? It's kind of like I don't know, it's like it'd be like boxing Mike Tyson. Right. Just be over quickly.
Go over quickly, but still
leaves an impact.
Yeah, exactly.
How many teeth can I lose in one punch? But yeah.
Yeah, no, I really, really, really enjoyed this album, and I know we went off as usual on tangents, but I think those tangents were linked into the feeling that this gave me. I mean, I was looking at this and then seeing the fact that it says Another World, and it was linking directly to what you were saying. You didn't even mention the album title at this point, so it's like all these things are kind of built into this project.
Definitely.
Definitely. And the names of the songs, even things like, Ghosts, Constellation, Worth It, Another World, Shameless Butterfly, if I had to give a top 5, it probably would be Boogie, Another World, Constellation. I want to say Distance. Just for that, I remember that having a nice piano and everything in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those keys were just really, really good. And Ghosts had this like nice bass drive in it, and that was like, he really sounded like Black Thought on that one.
Right?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Yeah, it's got to be Boogie, Constellation, Distance, Ghosts, Watch Thy Step.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that we took a more holistic kind of overall approach, but I could still pick those particular songs.
Sure.
Yeah, those. I mean, that's like 5 out of 10. You might as well listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, and they're not long songs, so just
no, they're not.
Do yourselves a favor and just listen to something that just doesn't have a genre. They are their own band. Like, this is the needle in the haystack. Like, I've always been a person I will always search actively for new stuff. I've waded through enough rubbish, but
enough bullshit. That's kind of what you have to do now, right?
Yeah, but these guys just.
Was this your top 10?
This was in my top 10 for last year. Yeah,
it wasn't an honorable mention.
No. This album is just impressive
Sick.
for me. So yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Okay.
out of 10, though.
Oh yeah, of course. Out of 10, I'm giving it a straight up
Go on,
9.
go on. He's gone for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
You knew that
Yeah,
was coming. You
yeah.
knew that was coming.
I was
Yeah.
whispering silently, like, "Yeah, go on, do it,
Yeah.
do it."
Give it a 9. I
Oh,
really,
brilliant.
really enjoyed this. This really
Yeah,
hit for me. And if I can find the vinyl for it, I'm grabbing that. It deserves that kind of
I think they do have
uh
vinyl.
I mean, I
I'm
would be
sure they
surprised
do.
if they didn't. You know,
Yeah.
that album cover is so suited to being on a record. The
Oh,
music is
yeah,
suited to being on a record. I just like to commemorate albums like that by getting that big physical copy of it
yeah,
to kind of give it that full weight and
yeah.
things. So it's not just a bunch of songs to stream, not a
It's
bunch of
respect.
MP3s. It's full. Keep saying it. 3 words. Body of work. You know, got to treat got to treat the music again like we treat books and all those sort of things. You know,
I think we,
legitimized
yeah,
art forms,
I think we
pieces of
do
art.
need to get back to that.
Yeah,
As we've spoken about before, like, going through like HMV and stuff like it. I used to
yeah.
really enjoy doing that.
There's a lost beauty in that for the sake of convenience, and we
Agreed.
want convenience for a short amount of time. In the same way, we probably want pure total freedom as human beings for a short amount of time until we realize maybe that's not actually what we want. You know,
Yeah.
and
So what do we want?
I'm not advocating slavery or nothing like that. That's, don't come at me with that black or white bullshit. But
And definitely don't do a Whoopi Goldberg and say that the Holocaust wasn't about race.
is that what she? I saw something about that. I saw
Oh,
something about that
just read
recently.
it.
Oh
Just
God,
read a
okay,
book. Like,
okay.
you ever heard about the Aryans? Like, I'm pretty
Oh,
sure but it
what
wasn't just, anyway.
ridiculous.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's so like cancelled. What an idiot. Anyway.
But yeah, Jesus Christ. But yeah, because I mean, I've moved off of Spotify now, back to Apple Music. I mean, it's still streaming, but
Sold out, man. Sold out.
I think I sold out by going to Spotify in the first place. I don't agree with a lot of their new practices that they put in place.
True. Okay.
I don't think they build the service for the music. They're just guys that found a gap in the market that love algorithms, and that's always the pull for their playlists. Oh, the algorithms are so good. Okay.
Yeah.
But after a while, I realized just getting a continuous stream of music all the time is just not. It's devalued the art for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apple Music has a bit more of a human, curated feel, and I can actually control my library and all that sort of stuff. And
Sure.
the intake is a bit slower. I actually completely prefer it. It's actually made me fall back in love with music again.
Yeah. It's quite funny that you say that. I know new music has dropped and all that. I'm not really paying attention to a lot of stuff. It's literally no, actually, last year I was consuming music just because I need to I got into my old habits of
Yeah,
need to
same.
know
Yeah.
as much as possible. And now I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no. Got the show. We've got movies to watch as well. No, I'm going to take
Yeah.
time and enjoy stuff now,
Yeah.
So
less is more, honestly. And,
yeah,
you know that as well. And even on a scientific basis, you can have too much of a good thing. And even that includes something like music as well.
yeah, man, for real.
It's too much sometimes. And I don't miss my release radar on Spotify. I just don't.
You're just saying words that I don't understand, but yeah.
Release radar every Friday.
Oh, right. So it just gives you all new
follow.
music.
Yeah, from artists that you follow. And
Oh,
it's
sod
curated
that.
to you and stuff. It was great. It was fun for a while, and talking to your friends about it, like, oh, what's your release radar saying today, and all that stuff. But then after a while, I was just collecting songs, but not attaching much value to them.
Yeah, and not living with them as well.
Not living with them. A week would pass, get replaced by a new set, and then it's just going through a cycle all the time. It was like this illusion of, oh, it's new, it's brand new, it's up to date, and oh, it sounds so good. But then actually in practice, I was losing the thrill and the love that I had for it. But yeah. So yeah, that's
man.
That's
that. I
that.
think that's cool. What album are you giving me next week?
What album am I giving you? I am giving you I've never actually said this out loud. Of course, it's called that. Damn, she's Tamil, but it's all written as one word.
Damn,
By
she's Sri Lankan.
effectively Priya Ragu.
I know the name. She was in the
Yeah,
Brits. I just know. Was she in the Brits? I don't know. I know
was
the
she?
name. I've got
Yeah,
I've got
Priya
no
Ragu.
idea.
I found this mixtape of hers or project of hers last year. It's a bit suspect going in because we've discussed sometimes like when it comes to Asian and Western blends like of
Yeah,
music. And she exceeded my expectations, and she's become one of my favorite newer artists that I found. And that was a beautiful moment, finding another, like having that moment again,
brilliant.
finding an artist and being like, I am fully invested. Her, Any, those two were like my two finds of last year. I think Any was last year as well, where it's like straight away follow them on Instagram, follow their music, find everything that I have about them.
Right.
They're both relatively new, so they only have like one project a piece. So we're here at the start of their journey, which is also cool as well.
That's cool. Yeah. That's what I used to love about bands, catching them right at the start. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll listen to that.
Yeah, so there's that for next week. Sorry, for 2
next
weeks
episode. Yeah.
Next exchange. And next week will be Spider-Man Far From Home.
Oh yeah.
As our movie discussion.
I better go and watch that.
Better go watch that before Netflix takes it down.
No, it's already Far From Home isn't on Netflix anymore. I checked.
So they
took that down. I know it. I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to watch that," and then they just taken it down. I don't know. Well, mate, I don't know why, but
classic.
But yeah,
Spider-Man month is over.
Yeah, I'm gonna rent it on Amazon, and it's only like £2.50 to do it. So rent it on Amazon, watch it twice, and then see what happens. Although, no, I'm actually I only need to watch something once. Like I've got why couldn't my brain just be like, hey man, like you can remember numbers or something like that. You'd be a really good accountant and make good bank. My brain remembers, it remembers lyrics, or it remembers flipping music, or that bass line is unbelievable. Oh, it remembers movies and remembers lines from movies verbatim only after seeing it once. What the hell kind of superpower is that? I ain't cut out for the 21st century. Anyway, rant over.
I feel the same way, man. I listen to podcasts where people are talking about MCU related stuff and certain superhero related stuff, and I'm sitting there like, oh, that's not the guy's name. Oh no, that's not ridiculous because it makes sense because of this, and you've missed this. Oh
yeah.
God. And I listened to a No Way Home review today, and I was like so irritated by how stupid some of the comments were. They clearly just didn't.
They don't get it. They don't get it.
It's okay to not like the film, but some of the things they were saying were just stupid. But yeah,
this is the problem of giving too many idiots microphones and
that's
internet.
What it felt like. It felt like,
and that's why we exist.
That's why we exist, to kind of add some to legitimize the idiot side of the podcast world. Because we just do it with better production value. But yeah, so yeah, do your thing, David.
Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, new listeners, old listeners, I fucked this up. Guys, if you... Oh man, no, it's because, man, like I'm a bit distracted. So for the listeners, I've got my youngest boy on, like I'm watching him on a monitor that we have, like a baby monitor, and he's faffing around, and I don't know if he's awake because normally you can tell by the glint of the eyes that he's got his eyes open, but he keeps on like moving around. I don't know if he's awake, and it's super distracting. So anyway, as a quick aside, ladies and gentlemen, listeners old and new, like thank you so much for sticking with us. I can't wait to bring you the next exchange episode. I can't wait to listen to some new music, and thank you for rocking with us. Hope everybody's well in your world. As I always say, hit us up on the socials. Even though none of you do, you listen, but you don't tell us that you love us or hate us. Tell us anything. But
Instagram is the enemy of progress.
Yeah, do you know what? I say screw Instagram, because Twitter's kind of... Yeah, we're doing all right. Like we managed to
Twitter's
boost
much better.
We managed to boot, like, our list now is doing better. So more people, we're on more people's radar there.
Yeah.
And we managed to get, I think, about 8 or 9 new followers in the last 3 weeks. So that's not bad. So,
yeah.
But anyway, it's all about engagement. And if you listen, please engage. Please. Anyway.
We're joking, by the way. We're not actually begging you for engagement.
We're not begging you for engagement at all. Good point.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, honestly, peace and love to all of you and yours. And I guess we'll see you next time. Peace. Totally missed that, bro. Again.
Every time. It sounds like it is.
It sounds like it is for you, but for me, it was like, peace. That was my voice. And then you were like, oh, wait a minute. And then it was like, yo, peace. Yeah, it was that kind of delay. Yeah.
So is that happening throughout the recording?
No. It's only when we try and do this for some reason. I don't know.
Because it's not like we talk over each other in such a way that, when you're on a phone call and someone's getting it late and you can hear them reply to you a bit later than they should because they're just getting it. You're midway through your next thing. Because like literally now you're responding to me in real time. You're literally agreeing, nodding your head as I'm saying this.
Yeah.
Not just 5 seconds later.
No, but you're trying to counteract something that might not be happening. So you could have said it at the same time as me, but you delay because of habit.
No,
so I think, because this time when I raise my fingers in the peace sign, that's your cue.
I took a breath in.
So did I.
And then I said it. From my perspective, I said it the same time you said it.
Rah, man, that's so weird.
That's what I'm wondering. So then I'm like, if you're hearing it later, but then throughout the recording, you're not hearing me later because you're responding to me in real time.
I mean, is this some kind of like parallel universe Mandela kind of madness going on? Like Mandela effect kind of? Like, cause,
I wonder if it's, I don't know, man.
Who knows? I don't even know what I'm talking about. Nah, bro, like, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I got to go. This guy's like shuffling around like some kind of shifty joker.
Fair. I reckon it's Zoom trying to be clever. So they don't want us to talk over each other. So then when we do actually talk at the same time, because I think in the conversations, we're not usually talking at the same time. So when we do talk at the same time, it's very clear. It tries to cancel the two out because it doesn't want one person talking over the other.
I hear you.
Happens to be on FaceTime on a family group.
All the time.
Voice can never cut through and then you never hear anyone because everyone's talking at the same time.
Oh, it's horrible. But anyway, you need to have some orders. Everybody muted, and you get one person to chair the meeting. But
can't trust
right.
That,
I got to go because this guy is actually now fully awake, and
he's fully awake. All right, cool.
No, he shut his eyes again. This little pumpkin head, man. Oh my goodness.
Are we still recording?
Oh yeah, we are. I'll just tag this on to the end of the episode. Like, if people want to listen to nonsense, they can.
Oh man, okay.